Welcome back to LaughLines and LifeLines podcast. What episode is this now? 9?
9, I think.
That's crazy.
This is crazy. We're kind of a mess today.
That's okay.
But that's okay.
The country's a
so
mess.
is the country. So yesterday, former President Trump was in like an assassination attempt.
Which is
That's what I'm trying to say.
yeah. Freaking crazy.
We're not going to get political. We're not going to go too far into it because that's not what this podcast is about. Yeah. But I do want to say that we should definitely pray for our country and pray for our leaders.
Yes.
And
Pray for
thank God
unity.
for that he is okay.
And prayers for the people who aren't.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I never thought in a million years that I
I'd be
would
alive to like
experience
see
something like this.
Yeah.
It's not like it sucks and it's really sad that that's the state of what some people are in. But it's not entirely surprising.
Yeah.
Based on how politics is.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. That's why I don't like to get into it. But yeah, pray for our country. So do you have anything else on that subject?
No.
Okay.
Don't be rude.
Yeah. Don't shoot people.
Don't shoot people.
Yeah. So today in this episode, we are talking about burnout.
Everyone's favorite topic.
Everyone's favorite. It's kind of a heavy hitting one. So,
yeah.
We're just going to talk about our experiences with burnout. We've had different but similar experiences.
Yeah.
Different circumstances, but similar feelings.
I was gonna say side effects. I don't know if that's the right, but
Yeah,
just
that makes sense.
how it
Side
affects
effects,
us is
yeah.
similar.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So do you want to start?
Sure.
Okay.
As a college student, burnout is very easy to achieve, which is not good, and it sometimes is very hard to combat. And I didn't notice it as much my freshman year of college, but I think it's because I was only in, like, I wasn't in cheer yet. I wasn't in one of the clubs I was in this past year, and so I just had like school, choir, and then my freshman year I didn't work at where I worked at now. I worked at a daycare, so it was only like 2:30 to 5 or something every day, so like it wasn't
manageable,
super, and I didn't have to work the weekends and whatever, so I do my homework and whatever. But then this year it just like a truck hit me, and it was like the first semester of school, so I was like, oh great, if that's how the first semester is going, I don't know how the second semester is going to go. But I mean, I work at Lifescape, and so I'm there during the week, I'm there on the weekends, I'm there for 12-hour shifts, like, and it's a lot heavier of a job than my previous one was, just emotionally and physically.
I was gonna say, not even just the physical part of it, but the emotional part of it.
Just seeing all my kids, and even physically too, like lifting them and doing all this. I mean, it is manual labor. I would do it 1,000 times over for the kids, but it's hard. And so doing that, and then becoming a cheerleader this last year, and being on the board for a club at my college, and then getting back into the worship team, it was a lot, and I kind of just said yes all at the same time. Yeah. And didn't really think about myself.
The consequences of that.
Yeah. And so for a while, I mean, it was fine to manage. I thought I was in this like, I just need to figure out my rhythm of how to balance everything, and I never figured out the rhythm. It was just like, I'll get there.
That's not how it works. Yeah.
Because I would have church on Wednesday nights, and I'd have cheer Monday and Wednesday night, so I'd have to leave cheer like early on Wednesdays, and then we also had student engagement on Wednesdays, so I had that like before. It was just crazy. And then I was in choir for a hot minute this year. We'll talk about that too. That's a whole can of worms to get into. But and then work, obviously, like working when I can. I have to, with my position at my job, I have to work 40 hours a month, which I get to make my own schedule, which is a huge blessing. But sometimes, especially during the early months of the school year, like first semester, how it all came crashing down, I have to cheer at football games on the weekends. And so there's only certain weekends I can work, and it's like, if I'm not cheering, I'm working, but then it's like, where do I fit everything else? And I have Sundays and whatever. But one thing I've started learning is how to say no. Because when I was so burnt out, like, it affected me physically, it affected me mentally, emotionally. Like, I was consistently sick, like, not like puking or anything, but just like, I always had a cold, I always had a headache, and I was so freaking tired. I cannot imagine, like, I cannot think of a time I was more tired than like this last school year. And it got better towards the end of the school year because of things I changed.
You started offloading stuff.
Yeah, but the beginning of the school year, I just slept. Like, I couldn't. I would be like, oh, I'm gonna lay down, and I'd sleep for like 3 hours, and I would wake up still tired.
Yeah.
And I was just like, what is going on? So being constantly sick, sleeping all the time, I mean, like, emotionally, relationship-wise, I would just, like, hole up because I'm like, I have to get all this done. I have to do all of it. Blah, blah, blah. I don't have time for anything. I have to do this and this and this and this. Like, I wasn't singing on the worship team the first semester of school. I was probably a horrible friend the first semester of school because I was just, like, in my own bubble of I need to do everything all the time, all at once. And, yeah, it's just rough. But I learned, and I'm learning now even more how to say no to things. And my first experience was actually after talking with sound guy on a random Wednesday, Abraham, at church. And I was like, yeah, I have this and this stupid choir class that I was in. It was not a good environment for me anymore. Right. It was not a good, like, I wasn't enjoying it. And as someone who's loved to sing since I could talk, it was disheartening to, like, have to go to choir every day and to like you shouldn't feel like you have to go something. Have to go to something. It should be what kind of takes the load off. And for me, it was a whole nother load. Yeah. And it was just hard too because I had, like, past relationships with some of my directors. Like, we'd grown up together, and so it's like, you know, how do you say no but still, you know, not upset anybody,
maintain relationships?
But I mean, the fact of the matter is, we're not meant to be people pleasers.
Yeah.
We're meant to do what we feel is right. I mean, right for us, yeah, but we're not meant to just, like, let everybody trample over us.
Right.
Basically.
Yeah.
Jesus flipped tables too.
Yeah.
Shoot. And so I had quit choir, like, halfway into my second semester, which very much opened my schedule because that was every day from, like, 3:30 to 5:15.
Oh my gosh.
Which was just, and it's like the end of the afternoon, you're tired, you just have had a full day of classes, right. And then you're going to something you don't even want to go to. And I was like, oh, okay. So one day I was talking to Abraham, and he was like, do you even like going? And I was like, not really, but I kind of have to, you know, just keep it up. And he's like, no, you don't.
Right, exactly.
I'm like, yes, I do. Like, I have to say yes. I have to go. I have to be in all these things. I've always been a busy person. In high school, I was the same way. But, I mean, in high school, it's different than college. It is.
Yeah. You don't have the responsibility of life.
Right.
You know?
But I was, you know, in show choir and student council and best buddies and president of cancer awareness and, like, and I played softball. But it's just different.
Yeah.
And so I've always just been busy. That's just always been who I am. But I've been learning the lesson this year that, like, the Lord delights in our slowness too. Like, if you're going so fast all the time, there's no room to enjoy anything. There's no room to enjoy the life that he gave us. There's no room to praise him in the small moments. Like, you're just blah, 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 all the time. And that's not what we're meant to do. And so after that conversation with Abraham, I quit choir, which was huge for me. Like, I remember texting I'm pretty sure that fly just flew in front of the camera. Oh my gosh. I remember texting my grandparents and them being like, oh, wow. Like, that's a big thing. I'm sorry to hear that, but I know that you wouldn't do it unless you needed to. And so that was very reassuring too. Just that for some reason I thought people, like, wouldn't be okay with me not being busy anymore.
Look down on you about it.
Yeah. But I did it, and it was the best thing I ever made. The best decision I ever made. I had time to just, like, be and just, like, be a student for once, which is cool.
A normal college student.
Yeah. And that's kind of trickled into other things. I said that I wasn't going to go back out for a different club I was in. Just didn't really have the time or the overall desire to do it again. And everyone was like, well, you're not doing it again. I'm like, nope. Sorry. And now that I've done it more, I've learned how to say no more. And it comes a little bit easier because I would, you know, like, hey, can you hang out tonight? Can you babysit tonight? And if I don't want to, no.
Say no.
I can say no. And I didn't know that for the longest time. But now even like yesterday, one of my professors from school was like, hey, can you come babysit tonight from 6 to 9? I know it's last minute. And like we had people over and I just didn't really want to. So I was like, you know what? We have people over. I can't. Sorry. And I know myself 2 years ago would have been like, oh, yeah, totally.
Drop everything.
I'm very open.
Yeah.
No. And actually, funny enough, that same professor, him and I, so at my college, we do like Lent faith partners. And so you can like pick a professor that you have and you meet once a week and just talk about your faith. And you can they have like our chapel staff, they have like prompts that you can do. But my professor and I just picked a book to read. And now I'm forgetting the name of it. Something about haste and like not having haste. I'm going to think of it and I'm going to put it in here. But it's by John Comer. And it talked about how Jesus lived and he didn't do a single thing fast. Like actually not a single thing. And he was never, I mean, I don't want to say never, but very rarely was Jesus burnt out. Like he was very slow in everything he did. He made
methodical.
Yes, and intentional. He was intentional with everything that he said, everything that he did, everything that he agreed to do. The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry is the name of the book.
Got it.
But anyway.
Hello. Okay.
But I was going through that book with him and we just had talked about, like what happened to Sabbath? Like actually practicing Sabbath. And so that's another thing that I've tried to do, especially now that I'm in this job where I can make my own schedule, is as much as I can to not work Sundays. Like this coming month, August, I just made my schedule and we have a bachelorette party a bridal shower one weekend and I'm going to be out of town another weekend. I'm going to Elevation Worship concert the other weekend. So like in order to make my weekend hours, I had to pick up 2 Sundays. But I was like, hey, I'm not coming in until 3 and I'm only staying until 9. And so although I still have to go in, I'm setting those boundaries of I'm not coming in the morning. I'm not coming in the early afternoon. I'll be here and I'm not staying late because I don't want to work on the Lord's Day. And it kind of sucks I have to, but you gotta do what you gotta do sometimes. But the important part is doing it while setting boundaries. Yeah. So I've also learned that. But long story long. Yeah. But that's what podcast is for. Exactly. So you're welcome. Yeah. Learning to say no. Learning to like switch my brain, and a lot of things I've done recently is how would Jesus do it? What would Jesus do? Everyone always says. Yeah, but seriously,
it's true though.
How would he go about this? How would he think about this? How can I do things slower to be like Jesus? Again, Jesus was almost never on his way to do ministry. That's so true. Yeah. 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 Right. Yeah. Jesus never had a schedule. And although that's not attainable really anymore with people having jobs and whatever, there's still ways. There's a fly, you guys. Point her out. Sorry. Here.
Evie.
Subtle. Anyway, in today's day and age and just all of us having jobs and stuff, like you're going to have a schedule and that's kind of what it is, but there's a lot you can do to like combat that you can be intentional about. Yeah. That's my 2 cents.
That's a good 2 cents.
That's my like 15 cents, but
yeah.
Podcast.
Yeah, so I think there's so many aspects of burnout that can relate to so many different people, and like the feelings that you were describing like are very similar to what I've experienced, especially in the last like 2 years. I think is when it really hit me. It really started after I had our youngest daughter, our 4-year-old Everly. The busyness that you succumb to, and that I succumbed to, the aspect of portraying busyness, if that makes sense. And I allowed that to get to me. It's been, I'm not going to say rocky few years. It's just been a challenging few years.
Yeah.
After the world shut down with COVID, because I had Everly in the middle of lockdown, literally. No, at the beginning of lockdown, literally, because she was born April 24th, 2020. So it was literally when everything shut down.
Happened, yeah.
And that kind of altered the trajectory of my life for a while there. Because we couldn't do all the normal quote unquote things that you do when you have a baby. And she was secluded for the good first year of her life, and but at the same time we couldn't slow down, and
which is so ironic, like even when the whole world was shut down we were all so busy.
Well, exactly,
it's like, what are we
you still have bills to pay. I still had to help Hadley with school because she was at home doing school then.
What grade was she in at that time?
Geez,
4 years ago.
Yeah, so second or third. Yeah, I don't remember exactly, but luckily we didn't have to homeschool her for that long because it was April when everything, March, April when everything shut down. But so that was interesting, having a newborn and homeschooling on the fly. So
I always tell her that I don't know how she does what she does, or like how she has done what she has done, and then her saying this, I'm like,
it was
okay,
crazy.
Superwoman.
Oh yeah, right. I'm just insane.
Just accept the compliment.
No.
Just accept the compliment.
Okay, fine.
Okay, fine.
So yeah, after COVID hit, we kind of got in the groove of things. We moved in that time. And then so Everly was like 8 months old when we moved.
Into your current house?
No, into an apartment. Which was a terrible mistake. Oh yeah, when we moved, we both had COVID.
That's funny. When we moved, I got COVID and gave everybody that helped us move COVID.
No.
Stupid COVID.
Yeah, we moved.
Wait, so where'd you live before that?
In T, in a townhouse in T. It was only 2-bedroom townhouse, and it was a great townhouse, but we ran out of room.
Yeah.
Like we couldn't, Everly was getting to the age where she needed her own room.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. She was 8 months old.
Cute.
And Abraham and I both had COVID. So nobody wanted to help us. Nobody could.
Yeah.
So I understand why nobody wanted to. So we literally had to move by ourselves with an 8-month-old because nobody wanted to take her either because we had COVID. And
oh my gosh.
I remember that first time I had COVID was terrible. Absolutely terrible.
And that was when you were moving? Was the first
time?
Yeah. Ugh.
Yep. It was not fun.
The first time when I had COVID, when we moved, I just slept literally all day. Like it was like 15 hours a day.
I wish I could have, but I had an 8-month-old that we had to take care of. And so in that time, I became sleep deprived. And I'm not saying like, I have a baby and I'm just tired. Like I was diagnosed clinically sleep deprived. About 2-ish, maybe a little over 2 years ago, I started seeing a psychiatrist, and he's the one that actually diagnosed me. So like I'm not just saying it to be like, I was so tired. Like, no, it was affecting every aspect of my life.
Yeah.
I couldn't be the parent I wanted to be. I couldn't be the employee I wanted to be. I couldn't be the wife I wanted to be, or friend. Like friendships were the last thing on my mind. And so I was in the trenches for a good 2 years. What?
The phrase is always, I always just hear that in like a funny sense.
What?
In the trenches.
Oh.
It's not funny here.
Oh, yeah, no.
Yeah, no.
It wasn't. No.
Yeah.
It was not fun.
No.
And then, the events just kept happening. I'm just looking at my notes here. So in that time, Abraham's brother had opened a store. So Abraham committed to his brother and helping him out and getting the store up off the ground. And in turn, that
put a lot on you.
Put a lot on my plate.
Yeah.
I was responsible for the girls, for the dogs, for the house, the yard, the everything, plus working full time.
Mm-hmm. Did you work from home at this point?
No. Nope. Sure didn't. So I was really struggling, and I know I wasn't very fun to be around.
Mm-hmm.
So kudos to my husband for sticking around, and
he said,
and so yeah, I was really struggling. Really struggling with all the responsibility, and on top of it being the default parent for our daughters.
Mm-hmm.
I had zero time to myself, literally zero time. My counselor at the time, well, she's still my counselor, but she's like, okay, so what are you going to do for yourself this week? I'm like, there's nothing I can do for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I think also part of that, I mean, being quite frank here, like, that was me just being bitter,
mm-hmm.
And resentful towards people who had the time, and I perceived my husband getting to go to the store and doing what he was doing as, you know, all the free time that he had. But in reality, you know, you know, he was trying to fulfill his commitment with his brother and being a good brother, and I commend him for that. But I was majorly struggling. So I went back to my psychiatrist and told him, you know, I was really struggling with anxiety. Depression was a big aspect of it too. So we switched around some medication, started on that, definitely started getting control of anxiety and the depression aspect of it. And then my husband and I came to the conclusion that he would no longer be at the store. And I don't know, I can't recall a more recent time where I've been so happy. Just relieved, because I truly didn't see a way out. As long as he was at the store, I didn't see a way out.
Yeah, because I remember a time, like, working full-time here and working, like, working 2 full-time jobs for him in a week.
Yep. So we were both, we were both running on empty. And our family life was struggling with it, and our marriage was struggling. So it was not a fun time.
No.
And a lot has changed in the last 6 months. You know, we both took control of our time, and he's no longer at the store. And I feel like it's changed things dramatically. I feel like I'm finally starting to let go of the reins a little bit of, like, when you're responsible for everything in a household, you know, children, the house, the dogs, even the yard work, you know, I found myself having such a tight grip on everything.
Yeah.
Like I needed to control it in order to keep my sanity.
Yeah.
Or what little sanity I had. And I would be resentful towards my husband because he didn't know where certain things are in the house. And I'm like, we've been here for a year. You know, and that's so ridiculous to get mad at somebody about. Like, he doesn't know what he doesn't know.
Right.
Like, how can I blame him for something like that? But in reality, like, that's, what's the word? Not consequence. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but me neither. I lost my train of thought. Here we go.
He doesn't know what he doesn't know.
Yeah, he doesn't know what he doesn't know. And I need to give up some control, and I need to allow him to regain his position in our life.
Yeah.
Because for a long time, like, we were living 2 different lives.
Yeah.
And I was struggling, he was struggling, our marriage was struggling. Maybe that's kind of a harsh word, because, like, yeah, it's true. It's true. It's not harsh when it's true.
Well, it can be harsh, but it's true.
Yeah, exactly. And I can say this, and this is what I love about our marriage now, or just in general, is I've never been able to be vulnerable in the ways that I am with my husband.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't like that with my first husband, for many, many different reasons. But the fact that like he's literally sitting here right off camera, and I'm comfortable talking about this, because I don't see the value in not being transparent.
Mm-hmm.
It wastes my time and it wastes your time. And I'm getting to the point now where I'm feeling comfortable allowing things back into our life.
Yeah.
Starting to. Like,
yeah.
He knows that, like, and I know that I can't do too much at once, because that's overwhelming for me.
Yeah. That's how you get burnt out.
Exactly.
Like, oh, I'm all good now. Let's do all of the things again.
Let's do everything all at once.
Well, crap.
Yep, exactly. And just doing little things, to regain, relinquish control over, or perceived control, because honestly, I can sit here and say that I had control this whole time, but we both all know that's a lie.
Yeah.
I was letting the enemy win,
yeah.
and allowing me to think certain things, and I'm no longer willing to let the enemy control my train of thought.
Amen.
Praise Jesus. Praise Jesus. And
I was waiting for her to say it.
Right. So yeah, we're a work in progress. We're figuring it out, and for the first time in a very long time, I have hope, and that I know that I can't do this alone. It's almost like a recovery.
Yeah.
I'm in recovery from burnout. And there's so many things that I admire about my husband. One of them being his ability to just get up and go and hang out with people and not think twice about it. And I'm not like that. And I can't tell yet if that's just how I am, or if that's me being so tight and wound up for so long.
Yeah.
That I physically wasn't able to allow anything in our lives.
Yeah. Knowing you, my guess is the second.
Yeah.
Because
I really do.
I mean, we like hanging out.
Exactly. Exactly.
So, but it is so hard when that was how you were for so many years.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Like, it doesn't have to be easy. Like, it's a work in progress. Like you said, it's recovery, but it's not just going to be overnight.
Exactly.
Right.
And I just, even stuff with church, my husband and I had a conversation the other day about me being more involved, and just the thought of that gives me anxiety. But I'm more open to it than I have been in a very long time. And we're trying to carve out what exactly that means for me. When your husband is in ministry, it's second nature for him to not think twice about doing things for the church and people, and that's his job. So that's his job to be in people's lives and minister to people. Not minister, but like, well, yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. And that, being a wife whose husband is in ministry is something very new to me, and it's very foreign. So we're figuring out how to manage that, to kind of carve our way in that. And I'm very much the type of wife and person to let him do what he wants to do. I'm never gonna stop him from
can't do that.
No, yeah, I'm never gonna be that person. I never have been. But he always says that his ministry starts at home.
Oh.
And it was time to really act on that. To really focus on his first ministry. And I feel like that's starting to happen. And it gives me such a sense of hope and reassurance that, the Lord is guiding us. And that's another thing that's very new in a marriage for me is, you know, having God be the center.
Yeah.
And
changes everything.
Oh my gosh. It's
everything.
Night and day.
I mean, not that I would know. I'm a marriage expert, everybody.
Exactly.
But I mean, in any relationship, if God is the center.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It makes things so much easier.
Yeah.
And although we're having, you know, we've been struggling the last couple of years, everything that we've experienced are normal things.
Mm-hmm.
And I thank God for that.
Yeah.
I truly thank God for that. Because I didn't have that in my first marriage.
Mm-hmm.
We were so dysfunctional in my first marriage that we never fought because we never communicated with each other. We don't fight. My husband and I now don't fight. I mean, we have disagreements.
Everybody does.
Yeah, exactly. But I feel like our communication, while it could always use improvement, it's getting better, and we're always learning. But the thing that I keep going back to is how normal these things are.
Yeah.
And I am so grateful for the normal.
Mm-hmm.
We have a challenging life. Everybody does. Everybody has things in their lives that are challenging. But we're figuring out what works for him and what works for me and what works for us. Because we owe it to our daughters
Mm-hmm.
to have a healthy home.
Yeah.
And I feel like we're both on the same page now to make that happen.
Yeah. Totally.
So pertaining to burnout, I'm getting there.
On that note,
yeah,
what are some of the things you do to get there?
I've prayed. Like, I've been in prayer a lot more in the last year than I probably ever have.
That part. Yeah.
I could always be better, you know, because I am very much the type of person where I think one of my biggest flaws is that I think that I can do things by myself
Mm-hmm.
all the time. I am reminded so very often that the Lord will light my path, and he will always take care of me. And he has never forsaken me.
We sang that song today.
Really?
Yeah.
He's never let me down.
Yeah.
He has always taken care of us. Every worry that I've ever had has been kiboshed by him. And I forget that.
Yeah.
And then I feel like a terrible Christian for
Right.
forgetting that.
Right.
So like when I pray, you know, the first thing I say is, Lord, please forgive me
Mm-hmm.
for thinking that I could do this by myself. Please forgive me. He is the Lord of my life and the Lord of my past, my present, my future. And so prayer is definitely on the top of my list. I'm still on medication. I'm going to be upfront about that. But I've actually been feeling it in my heart lately to kind of make some adjustments.
I've also been thinking about that.
Yeah. Gradually. I'm not going to do anything drastic.
Cold turkey, everything gone.
Yeah, exactly. I did that when I found out I was pregnant with Everly.
Oh.
Yep, I did it because I was on like depression medicine when I was.
Can you be on meds like that when you're pregnant?
Some. You can be on some certain ones.
I never even thought about that.
And like lower doses of everything.
Photo shoot.
Yeah. And so yeah, a couple of the medications I'm on I can be on during pregnancy, but like the depression one, I don't think you can.
Gotcha.
Or you can be on a lower dose than what I'm at. So and that aspect of it used to be such a taboo.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it still is in certain what's the word I'm looking for?
Ways, certain
In
perspectives.
certain ways, certain groups of people.
Yeah.
But I'm not ashamed. It is what it is. It's helped me get through the hardest times of my life and the hardest mental challenges that I've had.
Yeah. You have to get back to a baseline.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you can't learn how to turn everything over to the Lord and give up that without even returning to a baseline period. Like if you were to, no. And whatever means you got to do that.
Yeah. Yep.
You got to do it.
I certainly don't intend to be on medication long term.
No.
So, but it is what it is. It's helped me, and I'm unashamed to admit that. So anybody who's on meds, shout out.
You're not
shout
alone.
out of the episode.
Shout out every episode.
So yeah, praying. Yeah, right. Prayer. I'm now in the Bible. We talked about that last episode, which has helped me a lot. So I'm in the Word every day, no matter what.
Oh my gosh, we have to tell them about the Bible.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Sidetrack.
Okay. So we've been talking about getting new Bibles. Like
right.
I have a Bible that I love, but it has my old name on it, like inscribed. And
so it's time for a new
drives me nuts.
Yeah, it's time for
every time I go to use it, and it's my favorite Bible. So we're talking. Okay, a couple days ago, I'm looking on Amazon because I know what kind of Bible I want,
and it's almost Prime Day.
So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go pick it out, put it in my cart. Okay. So Elly texts me.
So pause, and the thing that's even because I have a like ESV or something, just like typical study Bible.
Yeah.
She has Life Application Bible. She's telling me, it gives you all this context and this background and shows you how to apply it. Application Bible. I'm like, oh, perfect. Like I want that.
That's so good.
Either to replace or go alongside the one I currently have.
Yeah.
And so I was also on Amazon because it's the same thing. And I'm like, oh, and I bet I know why we picked the same one because all the other ones were like blue and pink and
teal and
yes. And so I was like, oh, this all black one. Perfect. So I'm texting Sarah and I'm like, hey, I think I'm going to get a new Life Application Bible. And she was like, what one are you going to get? And we also always talk about, like, we've known each other for what? A year maybe?
And a half, maybe?
Yeah. And we always talk about how we're such similar people.
Yeah.
Like, and like big stuff, yeah, but like little tiny things, like will be the same, or we'll say the same thing, or we'll think the same thing, or stuff, small, weird stuff
creepy.
like that.
This stuff happens all the time.
All the time. And so she's like, what Bible are you going to get? And I screenshot my Amazon cart and I send it to her. She goes, oh my gosh. She sends me what's in her Amazon cart. The exact same Bible. Exact same Bible in her cart.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's our life in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and like I said, this stuff happens all the time.
You guys, it's so weird.
So like we weren't even that surprised when we
I text her back. I was like, ain't no way. And then I was like, you know what? Actually, I'm not even surprised at this point. Like the shock factor has worn off.
Yep, exactly.
I'm just
not totally surprised anymore.
Yeah.
So
but yeah. Praying, being in the Bible, meds.
Being in the Bible, meds.
Yeah. And again, very similar. I mean, ways to combat, I guess.
Yeah.
Like that's what I do too.
Yep.
I learned how to say no more. Obviously, it's a work in progress.
Absolutely.
But yeah.
And our marriage is a work in progress.
Yeah, everything's work in progress. This country's a work in progress. Sorry.
You could say that. We're figuring it out, people. And I'm sure you all are too.
And we're all in it together.
We all are together.
All in this together. Once we know. Okay, enough of that.
Okay. On that note, do you have anything else?
I don't think so.
Literally on that note.
Literally on that. So funny. She's a comedian.
I am.
She's a comedian.
I know. It's a hidden talent.
She's moving that camera left and right.
Yep. On that note, I think that kind of covers our episode today. Yeah. It'll be up this week on Thursday. So be on the lookout for that.
YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts.
Yep, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio.
iHeartRadio. Shoot.
Yeah.
She's got it covered. Miss Marketing.
Oh, stop it.
Oh, stop it.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, thank you for as always tuning in. I think all 22 of you on YouTube. Woo!
Bless.
So thank you. Bless you all. And we will see you next week.
See you next week. Adios.
Bye.